What's your thoughts on that? Is that bad? Good? What do you think?
Yeah, I think I love that you do that. But what I run into a lot are hiring managers that they themselves are not comfortable with role play. So they're not comfortable hosting
Yeah.
that in an interview process, right? And so in that case, I typically we try to pivot into something else rather than try to figure out how we could coach them up to be confident in doing this in the middle of an interview process. That's sort of another thing we can work on at some point. They can work on with you, right? In your leadership training, but is then pivot to something like that what I said, the presentation or something again where you're telling them, hey, don't spend more than an hour on this, but we'd like you to XYZ. Maybe it's
Mhm.
craft an email or an outreach strategy. Like what would it look like in our industry? The best candidates, some of the top candidates are going to do these things in the interview without you even having to ask them. That's very rare to see, but you are going to come across those candidates that they're going to prospect you the way that they would in sales.
Mhm.
Check, right? Like one of the best SDRs I've ever hired saw my job ad and prospected me and showed me what he would do without having to say, this is what I would do. He just did it. He just showed me. I
Mhm.
could see what his type of strategy would look like. Then once we got into the interview process, again, I didn't have to ask him to brainstorm with me or to tell me how he would approach the role. He just started to tell me, well, here's what I would do. If I was going to call a CFO, this is what my talk track would sound like in this role. If I was going to call, a CTO, this is what I would say. And I was like, wow, like just blowing me away because again, most salespeople are not doing those types of things. So really pay attention throughout the interview process for people that are doing those types of, whatever it is, brainstorming, no one's probably ever going to ask you to role play with them if you don't ask them, though. Um, but yeah, so
That'd be pretty wild. I'd be like,
that
ooh,
would be,
I like
I would
this
be like,
girl.
you're hired.